Hello, my name is Vasil Tarasenko, I'm a Russian attorney. And at first, friendly reminder, we have a Telegram channel, find the link in the description and subscribe please. Russia has an astonishing variety of natural, cultural and urban wonders to explore. Incredibly vast territories and various climates, rich and completely diverse history, numerous indigenous people with their own religion and social structure make Russia a real treasure for travelers. There are so many beautiful destinations that the choice becomes almost dizzying, from the magnificent imperial palaces to the contemporary art galleries, from the wild woods and mountains of the Siberia to the welcoming warm beaches of the Black Sea. This video will give you some inspiration for some good places to visit in our country. Moscow. If you've already decided to visit our country, Moscow must be already included in your itinerary, and no wonder. We'll devote it another more detailed video because it really deserves that. Moscow was the capital of the Russian state from the 14th to the 18th century and from the beginning of the last century to the present day. The largest city in Russia and in the whole Europe. It blends its rich history with its ultra-modern present. So what is worth visiting in this ancient city? Red Square and Kremlin. This is a tourist mecca. No one will pass by it. This is the historical center of Moscow with museums, Vladimir Lenin's mausoleum, St. Basil's Cathedral and the State Department Store, which is a historic site in itself. People often walk around Red Square, take pictures and move on, but history buffs still go inside the Kremlin, brick citadel with a huge architectural ensemble inside. It was the place where Tsar lived, married and were crowned for centuries and is still the official residence of the president. Kremlin is an ideal place for those who want to feel the Russian spirit. St. Basil's Cathedral. The temple, which has become nothing less than a symbol of Russia, was built in 1561. By order of Tsar Ivan the Terrible. The Tsar of all Rus made a vow that he would build a church if the Kazan Khanate was captured. According to the legend, Ivan the Terrible, upon seeing the cathedral, was so delighted by its beauty that he ordered the architects to be blinded so that they could not no longer build temple equal to it in beauty. Now the cathedral has a status of a museum. VDNH, also known as Exhibition of Achievements of National Economy. VDNH is one of the largest exhibitions complexes and most interesting example of a Soviet architecture. Today it's the site for cultural and business events, which are held in its historical pavilions, palaces and gardens. The Friendship of Nations Fountain, located where represented the 16th Union republics, each of which is depicted as a golden statue. The complex also includes the famous Cosmonautics Museum. Novodevichy Convent. The convent received UNESCO heritage status, although it enjoyed a bad reputation as a place where inconvenient queens and boyards were exiled. Lenin's Mausoleum. This controversial landmark is located on a Red Square and it's accessible to visitors free of charge. Although it was built as the resting place of Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin also rested there for 8 years after his death. There are regular debates about whether the body should be buried, but the issue has not yet been finally resolved, and the flow of those who want to honor the memory of the leader of the revolution doesn't subside. Tretyakov Gallery and Pushkin Museum. It would take a full day to visit each of these museums, so be prepared in advance. In the Pushkin Museum you can see paintings by Edgar Degas, Vincent van Gogh, Paul Gauguin, Rembrandt and Rubens. The Tretyakov Gallery is more dedicated to Russian art and, for example, the famous Black Square by Kazimir Malevich hangs there. Ostankino Television Tower, the tallest freestanding structure in Europe. Ostankino Tower offers a picturesque view of the city, frightening in its height. Metro. Surprisingly, the metro can also be a work of art, and some of the old metro stations in Moscow are proof of this, just like in some other large Russian cities. The list of Moscow's attractions is not limited to the above. Ancient history lovers can visit, for example, the Cathedral of Christ, the Savior and Kaliningrad Museum Reserve. Families with children, the Mesquarium, Moscow Oceanarium, the zoo and one of the largest planetariums in the world. For those interested in military history, the city offers many military museums, Victory Park, honoring the memory of those died during World War II, etc. Next city is St. Petersburg. This is the former capital of Russia, the northernmost city with a population of over 1 million in the world and definitely the second most populous city among tourists. The city is not ancient and was founded in 1703 by Tsar Peter I. Peter the Great. All of St. Petersburg follows a uniform style to some extent. So in any place except perhaps in remote residential areas you feel that you are in St. Petersburg, in a European capital. Since Peter I was a renovator and was largely oriented towards the west, the spirit of this city is unlike the center of Moscow. The historical architecture is dominated by Baroque and Classicism. What can it offer to travelers? Tons of things. The Hermitage. Don't miss the second largest art museum in the world with paintings by Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, Tizian, Rembrandt and Renoir. The Winter Palace, part of the museum, attracts tourists not only with its main collections but also with the rich decoration of the ceremonial chambers of the imperial family. Peterhof, another unmissable landmark in St. Petersburg, the former imperial country residence, amazes with its splendor. The calling card of Peterhof is the cascading fountains with gilded statues. St. Isaac's Cathedral. The temple is located in the very heart of the city and I recommend not passing by it, but going inside. Its design is a real work of art. Church of the Savior on the Spilled Blood. You will immediately notice this building because it stands out against the background of the rest of the architecture. It will remind you more of something Moscow, and yes, non-locals often confuse it with St. Basil's Cathedral. The church has a great collection of mosaic icons. Catherine Palace. If you want to feel like a king, go to the suburbs of St. Petersburg, to the city of Pushkin and visit the Catherine's Palace, as the name suggests, built by order of Catherine the Great. The gigantic halls, almost entirely decorated with gold with elegant stucco and skillful fresco, will not leave you indifferent. Although St. Petersburg is famous for its historic science, it's also considered a youth city and it's the venue for different festivals. Golden Ring of Russia. Those interested in the ancient and medieval history of Russia simply must go on a tour of the Golden Ring. This is a group of historic towns northeast of Moscow called open-air museums, which will tell you the story of how Rus lived, how it developed and what crafts it was famous for. This tourist route is especially good because you don't have to go far to get acquainted with it. The farthest city is located only 200 kilometers away. Kazan. Russia is made up of many ethnicities, including indigenous, and Kazan is one of the best destinations to experience the contact with other cultures. Kazan is the capital of the Russian Republic Tatarstan, which is mostly populated by the Tatars, a Muslim Turkic people. In the 16th century, then this city was the capital of the Kazan Khanate. It was captured by Ivan the Terrible and now is unofficially called the third capital of Russia. When in the third capital, be sure to visit the UNESCO-listed Kazan Kremlin, where a lot of historic buildings are located, and Kul Sharif Mosque, which is calling card of Tatarstan. Try Tatar cuisine, it has nothing to do with Russian cuisine, and learn more about the local culture and history in the Museum of the Republic of Tatarstan. Also worthy of attention are such crazy things as a temple of all religions, perhaps the only institution of its kind in the world, or the marriage registry office in the form of a Kazan Tatar cauldron. Cauldron as a dish and Kazan as a city are practically homonymous in the Russian language. Southwestern Russia. Krasnodar Krai located in southwestern Russia, is a place where Russians from all over the country flock in the summer, and Sochi is the most popular resort city among tourists. If you are not a fan of the cold Russian winter, then the sun-drenched beaches and warm sea are your option. Also of interest to travelers in the south of Russia is the city of Volgograd, formerly Stalingrad, where the most significant battle of the World War II took place, the Battle of Stalingrad. It marked the beginning of the end of the Nazi onslaught. That is why in Volgograd you will find many attractions dedicated to this victory and the war in general. Also, do you know who the Cossacks are? Historically, these were an ethnic and at the same time class group of members of military formations that performed border service in the south. The Cossacks were formed from many nationalities, mostly Russians and Ukrainians, and under the influence of neighboring nations as well as due to the specifics of their activities, they created their own unique culture. If you want to learn more about them, go to Rostov-on-Don. Tourists also frequently visit the Muslim Caucasian Republic in the far south of the country, Kaliningrad, former Prussian, Polish and German city, also known as Königsberg. In the past, the city was Kaliningrad was annexed by the USSR after the end of World War II. It also has its own special European charm and is known as the birthplace of Immanuel Kant, who, as is well known, never left it till death. Karelia. Karelia, located in the north of the European part of the Russia, is a good place for those tourists who want to experience Russian nature, but don't want to travel far beyond the Ural mountains. There are both natural and man-made attractions here, including ancient artifacts, and the climate is milder than in more eastern parts of the country. Off the beaten path. Everything I have just told you about pertained to the European part of the country, and it is not surprising the Asian part that is to the east of the Ural mountains was developed later. The largest cities are in Europe and the climate there is milder. But the eastern region has its own charm and attracts tourists who prefer extreme entertainment. I'm talking about the Ural, Siberia, western and eastern and far east. This is a monstrously vast territory, the great majority of which remains uninhabited. Therefore, the main destinations of this region are diverse nature reserves and national parks, including those located beyond the Arctic Circle. A large number of different Finno-Ugric, Turkic and Paleo-Asian people lives in the Asia part of Russia. As a rule, these people speak their own languages and, despite partial urbanization, preserve their crafts and original culture. Let's talk about these regions in more detail. Ural, backbone between Europe and Asia, the Urals is the most ancient mountains range on the earth. The Ural Mountains are rich in minerals, and locals are proud that their region supplied the Soviet army during World War II. At the same time, Ural is a real concentration of mysterious, anomalous and strange things and place which attracts mystery lovers. Uralians periodically report alleged UFO sightings. In the 90s, a creature similar to the movie Alien was found there, which made a lot of noise throughout the country. And in 2013, on Valentine's Day, a meteorite flew into the city of Chelyabinsk, knocking out windows from buildings. Here and there, locals find strange structures that, according to the believers in the supernatural, possess strong energy. But if we break away from the mystical point of view, there really are many curious structures in Ural built by ancient people, such as Arkaim and Arkhanovsky menhirs. Another mystery of the Ural is the Dyatlov Pass incident, in which 9 Soviet ski hikers died together in the mountains under circumstances so mysterious and confusing that they gave rise to many conspiracy theories and even provided inspiration for the American horror film. However, even without mysticism, there is something to see in Ural. Kungur Ice Cave is a huge cave that amazes tourists with its natural site structure and is the most photographed landmark of this region. Taganai National Park is a treasure trove for hikers. Wherever you pitch your tent, amazing and most importantly completely different views open up everywhere. Lake Turgoyak and Uvaldi are also worth visiting. And of course, there are plenty of ski resorts here. If you are planning to come to the Ural, take a ticket to Ekaterinburg from where you can get to various attractions, and in the city itself visit local museums and see street art. It is not for nothing that Ekaterinburg is considered the capital of street art in Russia. And Chelyabinsk is jokingly considered the roughest and toughest city in Russia with its atmosphere of working Soviet city. Siberia. Who hasn't heard of frozen wilderness of Siberia? To its credit, the temperature, especially in its southern parts, can be quite high in summer, up to plus 35 degrees Celsius. But winter is cold and snow lies for about half a year, or even more in the northern regions. Of course, there are also many nature reserves and national parks here, but we will focus on the most interesting places to visit. Siberian Switzerland. This is how Altai is called. The Altai Mountains, stunningly high and beautiful, especially in the south, and it's no wonder that they are a magnet for hikers. The bright azure lakes add a special charm to them, and this is not just a comparison. They are truly azure like turquoise. The mountain fields deserve special attention. They really do like a landscape on a red planet. In addition, here you can meet the local Altai people who will teach you throat singing and horse riding and introduce you to local cuisine. Lake Baikal is, I guess, the first thing that comes to mind when talking about Siberia. Deepest and oldest lake in the world and among the clearest, it's not called a sea only because of its fresh water. In winter the lake is covered with such a thick layer of ice that snowmobiles and cars can easily drive across it. Many strange phenomena occur on it, for example, frozen methane bubbles in the thickness of the ice, or blocks of ice that are layered on top of each other, resembling gems or stones standing on ice legs, which makes it look magical and even alien. If you go to Baikal, also visit the Republic of Buryatia. This is a Buddhist region where a curious architectural complex Ivolginsky Datsan is located, a functioning Buddhist monastery which also receives guests. Siberia boasts first-class ski resorts. Interesting cities in Siberia are Novosibirsk, Irkutsk, Omsk, Tyumen and Krasnoyarsk. And if you want to experience real severe Siberian winter, head to Norilsk, where they build cities on lakes. Do you know why? So that the permafrost on which the house stands doesn't melt from the warm house and doesn't collapse. Far East. The Far East of Russia is famous for its legendary geysers and volcanoes, so there was never shortage of tourists there either. Khrushchevskoy, Avachinsky, Karelia, Tolbachik and other smoking hills attracts hikers with their majestic beauty. Another must-visit place in the Kronsky Nature Reserve, which includes unique sites such as the Valley of Geysers, a must-visit canyon where 1,500 different thermal springs come to surface. The Kazan volcano caldera, a bowl-shaped basin resembling a lunar crater with hydrogen sulfide lakes and boiling clay. The Valley of Death, a piece of land at the foot of stratovolcano where toxic geysers rising from the surface kill all living things. To the south are the Ural Islands. These were once a bone of contention between Russia and Japan. Today there bear many traces of World War II. Trenches, anti-tank ditches, warehouses, shells and abundant equipment. History buffs will not be bothered here. The island's attractions also include wild beaches with black sand. In the Far East you can also experience all the delights of Russian winter, namely in Yakutia and Chukotka. There are many beautiful nature landscapes here, and this place is also known for the village of Oymyakon, the coldest settlement on the planet, sometimes also called the Pole of Cold. The record low temperature in this village is minus 67.7 degrees Celsius. Those who prefer a more cultural holiday can discover the city of Vladivostok. The main attraction of the city is the fortress. Both a museum and real historical site, its length being a terrifying 100 kilometers. In Vladivostok, tourists are sure to eat cheap and tasty fish and other seafood. Other Far East cities worth visiting are Komsomolsk-on-Amur and Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk. 100 kilometers from the latter, there is the remarkable Lake Buse. It's famous for the fact that during low tide you can catch sea urchins, tripons, scallops and giant oysters with your hands. After the exciting fishing, guests have the opportunity to arrange a luxurious lunch of Sakhalin delicious. Of course, all the beauties and wonders, neither urban nor natural, cannot be described in one video, but we tried not miss the most interesting destinations. What places have you visited or want to visit? Write in the comments. That is all for today. My name is Vasily Tarasenko, I'm a Russian attorney. Don't forget to subscribe, please, and Telegram channel also. Bye.